He called you into the office before sunrise. The boardroom lights flickered like they knew what was coming. You stood beneath them, arms folded, while your brother sat in your father's old chair, already drunk with the power he'd begged you to help him earn. You knew the second he cleared his throat that he wasn't offering a raise. He thanked you for your service, handed you a severance envelope you never opened, and smiled like it was just business. They thought you were the weak one, the loyal architect who would bow out quietly once the crown changed heads. You didn't flinch. You simply took the envelope, nodded, and left the room without a word. Because you already had the access codes, the original shareholder agreement, and something your brother hadn't accounted for. Leverage with teeth. He thought the family business was his now, unquestioned, inherited, rebranded in his image. But you'd been playing the long game since the day your father fell ill, watching how the inner circle circled your brother like vultures cloaked as advisors. You stayed quiet, let them think you were the sentimental one stuck in the past. They forgot you handled operations. They forgot you saw every draft, every deleted email, every line item before it vanished into the sanitized monthly reports. They forgot you were the only one who understood how the acquisition pipeline really worked, and which bribes were disguised as consulting fees. Your brother's first board meeting as CEO was more of a coronation. He toasted the future, made empty promises about innovation, and sold off a division you personally built, all in one breathless announcement. Cameras flashed as he signed the deal with a grin that mirrored your father's, minus the honor. You watched it live from your apartment, your screen reflected in the mirror behind you, the flames of betrayal licking the edges of your reflection. You'd already pulled the blueprints he stole and traced the contract fraud down to the wire. The signal came through at 3:12 a.m., an encrypted ping from a name that no longer existed on the company's HR records. You decrypted it with a smile. The server room logs had been uploaded from a forgotten backup node, one that still bore your admin signature. You knew exactly when to strike, but not yet. They had to taste victory. They had to laugh at your absence and mistake it for retreat. They had to say your name in past tense before you could turn it into a curse. 2 weeks passed. The company's public profile bloomed. Press releases spoke of a new era, a bold chapter, a liberation from the previous structure. Every word was code for your erasure. He changed the logo, removed the plaque with your father's quote from the entrance hall, reassigned your team and rewrote your contributions like a ghost story no one believed. You kept your silence. They thought it meant surrender. But the legal draft you buried inside a dormant account was about to be resurrected, and it carried your father's original clause. If any executive removed a founding member unjustly, the control privileges would default to a secondary heir. You were that heir, but only if it could be proven. So you began to build the proof. You visited your father's old assistant under the radar. She handed over a key card with a raised eyebrow and whispered, "He said you might need this one day." You didn't ask questions. You knew. By the 3rd week of your exile, the senior VP of Finance, one of your oldest allies, resigned abruptly. Your brother told the press it was a strategic shift, but you knew she'd discovered the shell entities he'd created offshore. He was laundering the company's assets under the name of a foreign subsidiary. You'd traced its origin through a flight manifest your brother forgot was logged by the corporate jet's pilot. Your pilot, the same man who taught you to fly, and who owed your father his life. They thought you were gone, that you'd taken the fall with dignity. But every time they laughed at your expense, they were writing their own obituary in invisible ink. The boardroom now held unfamiliar voices, hired guns, Men with no stake in the legacy, just a thirst for profit and a willingness to obey. One by one, the original visionaries were squeezed out, their shares bought with blood money. You stayed silent, but your ghost identity did not. You created it years ago, a phantom persona embedded in the architecture of the company's internal communications, triggered by a sequence only you knew. It couldn't be traced, couldn't be silenced. And now it was gathering files, logging accesses, collecting timestamps, and watching them celebrate your execution in real time. The trap had been set. All that remained was the right stage, and your brother, for all his ambition, was building it for you, piece by glittering piece. You knew the walls had ears. You just never told them they belonged to you. The signal came through again, this time from Conference Room C, where the new CFO whispered about reallocating liquidity streams over a lunch too quiet to be casual. They thought the microphones had been removed after renovations. They thought clearing out your office meant deleting your network. But they didn't know the server in the old IT closet still had your sublayer running, an audio capture system keyed to keywords, set to alert you the moment the word divest was spoken. They said it twice in that meeting. Once in jest. Once like they meant it. You replayed it 3 times that night, while the city lights outside your window pulsed like signals in Morse. The betrayal was recorded the night they toasted your downfall. Your brother raised his glass with the COO and head of legal, joking about finally cleaning house. In that room, they called you a parasite. In that room, they planned to dissolve your residual shares by fabricating a breach of conduct. You watched the footage in silence. 3 men who wouldn't have survived the last economic collapse without your crisis strategies, laughing like wolves in silk. Your brother didn't just want your seat. He wanted your legacy dismembered. But every laugh, every boast, every backdoor deal he orchestrated from those rooms, they were all spoken into your hands. The walls weren't just listening. They were recording, time-stamping, transcribing. He thought he'd burned every copy of the pre-merger protocols, but you had the original signatures in your vault, ink still stained with the urgency of your father's last lucid week. The document wasn't scanned. It wasn't digital. It was real. And it said plainly, any founding member removed without a supermajority triggers an automatic audit of all controlling transactions. That clause had never been activated. Until now. They laughed too loud the day they announced the international expansion. Your brother posed in front of a globe, spinning it for the cameras like a Bond villain with too much confidence. But you recognized the face of the man beside him. Viktor Melnov, the investment partner banned in 2 countries and blacklisted by Interpol. You'd warned your brother about him years ago. He called you paranoid. Now he was shaking hands with a man who financed privatized militias. And that handshake was broadcast on every business channel you monitored. You fed the footage into your ghost account, the one you built with shell encryptions, masking its origin through a VPN chain that passed through 6 continents. You paired it with the files stolen from the COO's personal drive. Files your contact and the cleaning crew retrieved after your brother left his laptop open overnight. That's how you uncovered the Cayman accounts. That's how you found the payments labeled consulting, with no recipients, only initials that matched none of the company's contractors. They thought you were watching from the sidelines. You were already inside the walls again, figuratively and literally. Late one night, you entered the building using the keycard your father's assistant gave you. Security had changed, but the camera angle hadn't. You knew exactly where to stand to avoid detection. You slipped into the executive suite and left a flash drive under your old desk. One program to activate the moment the internal audit System accessed the Q3 reports. It wasn't theft. It was a trigger. The moment came a week later. An anonymous board member, your last plant on the inside, asked for a breakdown of international revenue flows. The audit system was accessed, the flash drive activated. The files were copied, encrypted, and sent to a secure Dropbox managed by your ghost. Now you had it all. Every falsified report, every siphoned cent, every falsified compliance statement signed under duress. They thought no one knew about the CFO's affair with the compliance officer. But your system caught them whispering in the elevator after hours, and your software picked out the keywords, "sign it," and "no one's watching." They were wrong. You watched everything. The office door in the footage opened slightly. Just enough to see your brother's reflection in the glass. He was laughing about an insurance policy he kept on every board member. Photos, voice clips. One clip captured him saying, "No one crosses me and walks away with their dignity intact." You clipped that sentence and sent it to your offshore account. Labeled it "Final Strike." Then you called the audit firm your father trusted. Not the one your brother hired. The one that kept a quiet file on the company's original mission, and still owed you for stopping their embezzlement case in 2017. You said one word. Now. The signal came through the next day, this time through a document leak. An anonymous source sent the press a set of files detailing fraudulent foreign expenditures, with your brother's signature at the bottom of each page. One journalist ran the story, then 3 more. Then the headline exploded across the news. Family Dynasty. At risk. CEO under fraud investigation. Your brother held a press conference.